So man, I thought it'd be cool today to explore the question of whether we need any knowledge for awakening. So man, let's break this down. Do we need any knowledge really for awakening? Well, let's think about it, man. So imagine if you are coming up on a psychedelic. What happens? What happens? So the first thing you're going to notice is that your consciousness is going to change. Okay? Immediately, because your consciousness is shifting, you're starting to notice that the grip that you have on your mind is loosening. And you're starting to tune into a wisdom. And the wisdom is telling you, man, you don't need any of your ideas. You don't need any of your beliefs. You don't need any of your stories. You don't need any knowledge whatsoever. But why? Why not? Well, again, in practice, if you're actually having an awakening, if you're, for example, going down the psychedelics route, you're going to be faced with reality. Reality is going to awaken you. You awaken to reality. But knowledge, what ends up happening in practice is knowledge is just too finite. Knowledge is something that you'll accumulate. Knowledge is something that will keep your spiritual ego happy. Knowledge is something that you might gather over time as you study spirituality. But dude, if you're interested in awakening, which some of us are, you know what happens, man? You begin to realize through various awakenings, actually, and humblings and experiences with direct consciousness that knowledge is not something that you end up using or needing when you are being pummeled by the universe, when you are awakening. So again, let's get clear on this, man. What actually awakens us? What is awakening? Awakening is consciousness realizing itself. You are consciousness, you wake up to yourself. I'm starting to realize how foolish I am. Because I've studied a lot of stuff, man. I've read a lot of books, I listened to audios, listened to podcasts. And I notice it's a profound realization about how ignorant I am and how distracted I am when I'm taking this content. Now, not to say that you shouldn't watch this video, man. Please keep watching. But you will realize when you're hit with reality, with consciousness, with God, you will have a feeling of, man, I really don't need any of this knowledge. It's a little bit like if you've ever had a near-death experience. I know that's kind of a big thing, an intense thing, or any kind of shift in consciousness that's been significant enough for you to question stuff. In that state, man, in those moments, you're going to think to yourself, I don't really need a lot of the stuff that is in my mind. I don't really need anything. Well, who am I? What am I? In other words, man, upon having a shift in consciousness, something that really moves you, something that triggers you, something that triggers consciousness, then you're going to start to get this, You could say, when you do spirituality as a hobby, you will gather knowledge, you'll gather spiritual knowledge. But really, man, when you shift and you shift in consciousness, it's actually the complete opposite of knowing or having knowledge. When you shift consciousness and you awaken, what ends up happening is a profound not knowing. Now, here's the thing with this, man. As I share this with you, notice that your mind takes not knowing as a concept and it starts to know it. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying what ends up happening is you begin to realize how this actually works and what actually is the truth about this work. And what you learn is that awakening is about direct experience and direct consciousness. It's just the most raw, unfiltered, true experience of reality that you can get. And you're like, oh, right. So awakening and consciousness is in this domain of not knowing and beyond my mind. And you really begin to appreciate that what you conceived of spiritual awakening was very, very limited and actually just a projection of your ego mind. It was a story in your head. But real awakening is about consciousness. And so the question becomes, do we need any knowledge to have consciousness? No, we don't. But I will say this. if you're really keen into this awakening work, what will help you is if you actually have a theoretical framework or a good spiritual understanding to perceive your experience through. Because if you give some random guy a non-dual experience or a very profound experience of higher consciousness, how the hell are they going to make sense of that? What are they going to ground it in? They're going to have a really difficult time doing that. So that's why when you do study, when you do learn about spirituality, when you do gain information, it's helpful. But then when you awaken, you surrender it all. And really, man, you don't have a choice. You know you're doing this work properly when you're having one of these experiences and you're just realizing, oh my God, I have been so far off this entire time. And really, you have to just surrender profoundly. You have to let it all go, man. You've got to let it all go. Everything, all of your ego, all of your defenses, all of your story, all of your self-structure, it's all got to go. God swallows it all whole. And I'm not kidding, man. You experience death. The scariest moments of my entire life ever have always been in and around awakening, when my consciousness is incredibly high, my mind is incredibly unstable, and I'm actually feeling this stuff. And there's no hiding, there's no escaping. I've had times, man, where I've been like so rattled by the experience. I'm like, dude, the closest thing I can compare it to is, imagine you're on a roller coaster and it's going fast and it's going really fast and you're like, oh no, I didn't sign up for this bit. This bit's a bit, It's when you feel the reality of it. And you're like, what have I got myself into, man? Why do people do this? Why do people take psychedelics? Why? You know, you will realize, oh, right, this is the work. Oh, right. So, yeah, man, some serious stuff here. Some seriously intense work right here as you're doing this. And so, you know, let's go full circle. Do you need knowledge to have this profound ego-shattering experience? No, man, you don't. Because all that is happening in awakening is just consciousness. It's just seriously high levels of consciousness and you surrendering yourself into that to the extent where you become the consciousness. However, bringing us back to earth, I do want to say this. Dude, I'll be completely real. It can be a fun game to play the game of spirituality and to, you know, gather knowledge and watch videos like this, or just be a spiritual seeker and be on the path. It's fun, man. And I encourage you to do that. You don't need to do the serious, heavy, deep metaphysical awakening work. I'm just letting you know, in case you're one of these people, hardcore, psychonaut, mystic, someone who's just really into this work. Yeah? Maybe if you're one of my clients, you might be into this work. But, dude, regardless of everything I've said today, man, enjoy gathering knowledge. Enjoy the game. Just know and feel that part of yourself that realizes, am I like still super ignorant and self-deceived and unconscious? And I don't mean this in a bad way, by the way, man. But am I very asleep as I do this? Yes. But is that okay? Yes, it is. You don't need to do spirituality in any particular way. It's just if you get really serious about it, man, you might end up completely transcending all knowledge. Not every single day, but in these key moments where you do have profound shifts in consciousness. It is asked of you to let it go so that you can experience truth, consciousness, and love. Awakening is not for everyone, but enjoying spirituality and enjoying all forms of it can be for a lot of people. So don't think that you need to be like this. Don't think that you need to have awakening. You don't. You really don't. Awakening is way more terrifying than you realize. Hopefully this video could indicate that it's quite full on. But listen, man, enjoy your spirituality at whatever level you're at. But if you're into this deep stuff, just know that there's a lot of consciousness out beyond your knowledge, and it's consciousness that you're after, not knowledge. Yeah, okay, man. Dude, lots of love. Take care, man. And as always,